All right, so long story short, last time you were here, we were talking about arm levers, arm magnification, and something called the resistance curve. So long story short, as we've already kind of assessed and summarized, and hopefully you remember and are able to regurgitate at a moment's notice, I'm just kidding. A longer lever magnifies force more, or load more, than a shorter lever. Muscles can only pull, they cannot push. They can only pull insertion to origin. The origin is the bone which does not move. The insertion is the bone which does move. All these happy things. The muscles of the arm, what they do, one will flex, one will extend. You have opposing muscle groups. The shoulder is made up of the three muscles, the front deltoid, the lateral deltoid, and the rear deltoid. And you have the bicep, the tricep, the forearm flexor, and extender. Following all that? You remember all that? Okay, now we're going to talk about the legs. So, as you remember last time we compared it to the arm, and we discussed exactly what I just covered. So the forearm extensor, flexor, tricep, bicep, lateral delt, front delt, and rear delt. Okay? Now we're just going to compare those to the muscles on the leg with exactly the same information I just summarized and you already know. So in this particular case, we're going to be looking at the hip, or the pelvis, where it connects just like it connects here to the scapula and the collarbone onto the torso. So here we have the upper leg bone. On the upper leg bone, the bicep on the arm would be comparable to the hamstring on the back of the leg. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can see the similarity. And then you have the tricep, which extends the arm. And of course, you have the quadricep, which extends the lower leg. So I'm sure, again, you can see the similarity. Same kind of thing. So tricep, 3 muscle, quadricep, quad, 4. Making sense? We got the forearm flexor. It flexes the forearm. We have the calf. It flexes the leg. We have the forearm extensor. We have the tibius anterior. Exactly. Now this one in particular is more of a tendon than a muscle. It's like 80% tendon. But regardless, we'll count it. Up here, then we're going to get to the upper part. So in this case, it would be the shoulders on the arm. This is your big meaty part here. So the lateral delt would be a combination, actually, of your glutes, because your glutes are made of 3 parts, and your adductor. That's the most complicated one. Just think lateral delt. Just think basically one muscle does this. It's not entirely accurate, but it's simple to understand. Then we have the front delt. This one's tricky. Front delt is responsible for raising the upper leg. Now, a lot of people think this is the abdominals. We're going to talk about this the next time I see you, but it is not the abdominals. It is a muscle called the psoas. It connects inside the pelvis and onto your upper leg. It is not the abdominals. The abdominals do not connect to your legs. They only connect inside of the pelvis. Okay, then we have the rear delt. Pulls the arm backwards, as you know, diagonally. Well, what would that be? It would be the glute. So the glute is responsible for, once again, starting from a fully stretched position at a mechanical disadvantage and bringing it to a fully contracted position at a mechanical advantage. For the glute, the fully stretched position would be here at a mechanical disadvantage, something like a step up, which then follows with the glute fully contracted with little to no load. So a step up would be almost a perfect movement for your glutes. It's how you do it. So when we're doing legs today, we're doing quads, hamstrings, glutes, adductors, abductors, and calves today. For each one of those movements, you're going to do a pretty basic movement you've probably seen before, but you're going to do it in a very specific way, intelligently loading the muscles of your body with your body weight, but you're controlling the load by controlling your torso lean, essentially. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But long story short, are you understanding the comparison with what the muscles do on the leg as compared to the arm? Easy enough, right? All right, so then the next thing we're talking about is basically squat variations. So, simple demo. When you see somebody do a squat, standard flat-heeled squat, they'll go down and do something like this. So this particular movement is more quadriceps than glutes. This is because the quads are responsible for extending the lower leg, and with my torso leaned forward over these levers, my quadriceps are more heavily loaded. If I was to lean backwards, it would be much more on my glutes, because now my glutes are more loaded. Doing something like elevating your heels just a little bit not even too much, just a little bit, allows you to fold your legs a lot more. See, I have much more of a fold in my legs. This means that the actual lever is more activated. And when I go up, at the standing point, there's no load on my quads. I'm standing, no load. Mechanical advantage, fully contracted. At the bottom, mechanical disadvantage, mostly folded, leaning forward. This would be pretty good for my quads. But we can make it better. Well, actually, before we make it better, let's talk about how you can make it better for the glutes. Let's do the mirror over here. So you would find a wall, put yourself right in front of the wall, uncomfortably close to the wall. Don't touch the wall. It forces you to lean back, which engages your glutes. We're going to do this in a minute and feel it. Which engages your glutes considerably more than your quads, and that's because you're loading that particular muscle group more with the lever. But to make it better, you can do something known as a sissy squat. Now the reason this one is best for the quads is because it's a completely different lever structure. In this case, all of the force from my body is going to be going into this pad, this one here. Not this, but right here. So for all intents and purposes, this is a non-working lever, parallel with gravity. The working lever is going to be my upper leg, and the load is my torso. And when I go down, there's a lot of pressure right here because that's where the force is going. To resist that pressure, I have to contract my quads like so. Like, you're going to do it in a second, you'll see what I mean. But is all that making sense? Cool.